And Bridget, our group is trying to evaluate you as far as a keynote speech to set the basic mood and getting right into it. Nate is at how you initially connected with the audience.
All right, so halfway around the world, there's a crisis going on. And this morning, I feel like you reached around to the other hemisphere, collected a vivid picture of that crisis, and carried it 10,000 miles and dropped it into this room very effectively. The tone at the beginning was very dark and ominous, your first couple of sentences, and then you just flipped them around instantly. And this caught our attention, that contrast, like this terrible situation is going on, but here is a flicker of hope. And you managed to get our attention very well in that regard. The t-shirt was a powerful gesture. It was as if you were wearing a costume of the women that were affected by it. And it, you know, we're not so used to seeing costumes in speeches. You know, we hear your words, we see pictures, but that was an added dimension of reality that you brought forward. Here's a suggestion with that shirt. Don't mention it at all. Just reveal it, and then have discussions on the shirt revealed in slides and whatnot. But don't even talk about how you're wearing it or how you got it. And then leave it at the very end. Your last sentence was effective, like my shirt. Because that way the audience will just have their internal dialogue about the shirt. And nobody connects with the person better than themselves. So then the audience will be giving a speech for themselves in regard to what the shirt's all about. There are people where dignity was effective. Now you said it, you wore it, and you displayed it on the screen, and that was triple reinforcement. So it was really effective in connecting the audience with how with the core purpose of your speech. I liked your confident posture. You didn't need the podium at all. You were just there, full, right in front of us. It showed that you were really sincere about the subject. Audiences trust speakers who show themselves physically. One idea, because your tone and your facial expression was so effective, sometimes I had to watch you move around and try to catch you. And when I was trying to hone in on your face, I wasn't paying attention to your words or your expressions. So maybe when you have such a quality presence, vocal variety and eye contact, maybe you want to move as little as possible so the audience can focus on that, and you can use your movements as a way to organize the speech. Like, all right, this topic is done, follow me to the next place. And that would make it much more effective than it already was. Overall, excellent presentation.
I'm glad I didn't miss this speech. The keynote speech, my preconceived notion, and basically what the manual says is that it's a speech to a group of people that have come together around some sort of special interest or common beliefs. And I specifically asked about that. I said, what sort of a group are we to imagine that you're giving us to? And you said, well, Americans. And I think I particularly want to extol that choice because that makes this the hardest kind of speech. You're supposed to appeal to common feelings or common values. Now, if you had a group of people that hate to pay taxes or hate war or love the environment, there's lots of things, specific things you can appeal to. But here you're going on more of a more general, more deeper level of what are the feelings and emotions that you're trying to appeal to. The first question I was asked to comment on is, was the speaker's language and style inspirational? Describe how. I think I call your style fairly understated. It's not emotional. It's not like what you would expect from some of those other subject matters that I was talking about. But it was impressive really because of the authority that you now own because you put your time in. You've been there, you've done that, you know what you're talking about, and we don't know. You're telling us. And I think this sort of straightforward, no fireworks style is entirely appropriate for that and works really well. the repeated use of that theme, restoring dignity, again, you're not beating us over the head with your message, you're letting us absorb it. And the other question that I'm supposed to comment on gives me authority to call on the audience. Did the inspirational tone interpret or reinterpret existing feelings in the audience? Ask the audience, it says. Did the speaker express audience emotion?
Yes.
So let's talk about, you get a turn to talk in a few minutes. Remember that question when we get there. I think this speech is really something that more people should hear. I think it needs more polish. It's worth polishing some more. That's what I mean to say. And I did have one experience, the story about lunchtime where they were waiting an hour for lunch and then I didn't quite get what happened. The narrative wasn't quite clear. I can imagine 2 or 3 things you were trying to tell me there, but I wasn't quite sure which one it was. And that's the kind of thing I mean when I say you get the tone, the storyline a little clearer sometimes, you're going to multiply the force. But I'm so impressed by the track you're on that I think it would really be worth your time to watch the video and get everything just right, and then put this out to as many people as you can.
The first question I'm looking at, did the speaker use appropriate humor to create the lightness of spirit in meeting audience expectations? I was thinking humor, this is a very tragic, basic thing, but there is a place for humor, but it's from a whole different perspective. I mean, because I expect to see a very basic human condition of bitterness of the soul, and which would tend to keep these people, down, or a regenerative spirit. So there's some humorous twists, and I see, like, instead of, just going over and saying this over and over again and planning revenge, instead they wear purple shirts. And there's a lot of humor in that context, but it's not the humor that we'd normally be looking for because it is such a different context. So I'd have to, I guess, prepare and really prepare the audience to see these twists, but they are important to get that regenerative attitude that is so important to them. Now, did the speaker use word pictures and dynamic examples? And that, oh my gosh, his whole speech was so vivid. He had these women, the mamas in the purple shirts, and mamas need to embrace orphans, and had all the women and all their belongings, and the rebels, and beaten within inches of death and thrown out to die, and asking a woman to kill a little boy. I always see women and children, and to go so against her very nature. And so these word pictures are very vivid. And then I also did the closing. I've gotten my shirt by seeing these women. They are the ones who are doing all this trauma, and you had their heart in your hand, which I think is really what you wanted the audience to take with. And where is your shirt? I have mine. I think as a therapist, having their heart in your hand means a lot to you, but for the audience, it's just, they don't see it as a therapist, so you have their heart all over you, all inside of you. Be a lot more effective. And positive suggestions to improve. I think the context is really important. I'd like to, just for all of these points, maybe give a 10,000-foot view a little bit better so people can understand the situation, and maybe more on bitterness of the soul because it is such a basic human condition. Now, what are your impressions of giving the speech?
this is the first time speaking, and when I saw my evaluators were men, I was anxious to hear your take on that, because, I'm anxious to hear what the women have to say about that. But Nate, I have to take in, there's a couple parts that I forgot, because it was 15. But one of those was, and I threw it in because I felt it was important, the fact of how shallow I was to say, I thought that purple shoe was so cute, I want one. And that was supposed to have been in the beginning, more so in the beginning. So that gave a justification of that I wanted this purple shirt just because it's cute. So that was the purpose of the shirt being brought up in the beginning. So because I said that and then mentioned I had gotten one. Though I get what you're saying with that, so I will look and see where that fits in. And then also by me saying that shirt was cute, that was the humor part that I wanted to get and to lighten it up a little bit before going forward with this. For Dave, when you talked about maybe I need to revamp the storyline so you kind of got a better picture of these women that were waiting. So that was what I was talking about lunch. So I'll go back and look at that. And the very last line, I did have troubles with that. I did have that I brought their heart back in my mind, as one of my words. So I need to find a better picture word of I brought them back with me somehow. So I'm not sure what that word is then. But I get what you're saying. And I also wanted to tell a separate story within the story by saying restoring dignity. In the beginning was the shirt, the women, they have what you said of the soul, or bitterness. That was our intent. But I wanted to move that phrase to the very end to apply to us, or us, not them. So that was my intention. And I forgot a couple of those phrases, so we might have lost that a little bit, too. But. Wait, we are out of time.
Oh, please. Say this. I felt that the overall message when you kept repeating that, restoring dignity, was that what you were saying was these women have their dignity. What they have helped me do is find mine. And I really loved the expression, these women are the spine of Africa. They are the strength that is going to hold the continent up. I thought it was great.
What country was this?
Uganda.
Africa, Uganda.
Uganda. Okay. Yeah, I agree with Dave. It's worth refining, it's worth improving.